What if I start this video with a trite observation? Everybody fails, right? Like that goes without saying. Every single person who's ever taken a breath and lives on Earth has failed. We've all set out to do things that for one reason or another we couldn't do. The thing is, when you look around online at social media and YouTube, you don't see a lot of people failing. You don't see a lot of people acting like normal human beings. You see how much money we make. You see the delicious meals we eat. You see the beautiful places we've traveled to, right? What you don't see is the times that we fall short. On my channel, I work really hard to seem sort of like an expert on this stuff. I want people to take me seriously. I want people to listen to what I have to say, and I'm always working to get better at this, to learn more, to feel more competent as a photographer, as a presenter, as somebody who puts videos together. But the truth is, often I'm not. Often I'm just figuring this out as I go along, like anybody is, And I think one of the most positive aspects of this channel has been learning a lot of this stuff, getting better at making videos, getting better as an artist, getting better as a narrator. Doing all of these things, I think has been really useful and really fun and really satisfying. But today I don't want to do any of that stuff. I don't want to celebrate my successes. I don't want to tell you about all the good stuff I've done. I want to show you 3 examples of times when I set out to make a video and for one reason or another, I failed. I think often failure can be a really useful tool. I think that in examining our failures, unmercifully,
unmerciful,
we can get better. We can get better as photographers, as artists. What I'd like to do then is show you some failures and then discuss what I could have done better. How next time I could work to make sure that the photos that didn't turn out next time will. Is this a good idea for a video? Is this compelling YouTube content? Probably not, but it's something I wanted to do. So let's go look at some terrible photographs. So almost a year ago at this point, I was still living in upstate New York. I have since moved across the country, but I was still living in upstate New York, and I had set up a photography shoot with a model in the Albany area. This was actually going to be one of my more ambitious video ideas. I was going to do 3 sets of portraits, some on my Pentax 645 with the 150mm lens, some on my Pentax 6.7 with my 165mm lens, and some of them on my Sony a7 III digital camera with an 85mm portrait lens. Problems arose right off the bat. The spot that the model had picked to shoot wasn't available. It was closed due to some sort of renovations, so we quickly had to find a different location. The second location wasn't bad, actually. It was a pretty cool backdrop. But what I hadn't accounted for was the general lack of light. It was a pretty heavily forested area, and I hadn't brought particularly fast film. I had brought Portra 400 and I think one roll of Portra 160. Now this in conjunction with the longer lenses, I was using a 150mm on the 645 and a 165 on the 6.7, caused a lot of problems. The digital photos looked great. I was really excited. I took these with the 85mm 1.8 Sony lens, and the model, Sydney, was really excited when she saw them, and I was really psyched to get the film back so I could compare them. This is what the photos looked like. There were no usable images, none. It was a mix between out of focus and underexposed images, and there was nothing that was even remotely salvageable. So let's look at what went wrong. What did I do wrong here? The first mistake is something that I'm guilty of all the time. I didn't plan well enough. I kind of did this by the seat of my pants, like I often do. Drove up that day, just kind of grabbed what I had around and decided to make a go of it. Now, if I had planned better, I would have purchased a bigger variety of film. I would have purchased faster film specifically. I probably would have brought shorter lenses. I would have brought the 105 2.4 and the 80mm lens for the 645. It's never a negative to have more options available and more versatility. Because of the low light in this location, I was forced to shoot at slower shutter speeds, and that, in conjunction with the longer lenses I was using in the relatively slow film, resulted in a lot of motion blur in those images, rendering them unusable. The photographs where I attempted to shoot at a little bit faster shutter speed to maybe get some crisp images resulted in underexposed and unusable images. So if I were to do this again, and spoilers, I probably will attempt something like this again, I would make a point to bring A, faster film, B, a bigger variety of film stocks, and C, different lenses, possibly even different cameras. I probably would bring a 35mm camera so I can shoot something, with a 51.4 where I don't need a ton of light. Who knows, maybe I would have even brought a flash. I don't know. The point is, I would have tried to cover my bases a little bit better than I did here. Now later that year, I made 2 separate trips to the Adirondacks with a similar goal. The first was in the late summer. We went up to the Adirondacks for a day to go hiking, and my plan was to use my Zone 6 film camera to shoot some waterfalls. I had a box of Ektar 100, I had the camera ready to go, I had the 90mm wide-angle Fujinon lens, and I was really excited to get up and get some photographs of waterfalls on that big, glorious 4x5 negative. I loaded all the Ektar into film holders, we packed all of the gear up, I got my backpack ready to go, we drove 2 hours up north to the giant mountain trailhead, and I realized in the parking lot I had forgotten my shutter release cable. If you're not familiar with a folding field camera, without a shutter release you cannot take pictures. There's literally no way to take photographs. Even if you had the steadiest hand in the universe, you just can't, it doesn't function that way. So I was out of luck. I had to leave it in the trunk of the car while we went and hiked. I did take some photographs on 35mm, and honestly some of them are very cool, but it was a tremendous disappointment. And this again could have been remedied with just some simple planning. I think that the biggest thing to take away from this is if you have a more involved project in mind, make a list. Check it twice. Pretend you're Santa Claus. Go through it and check off everything you have. If you have the film, if you have the shutter release cable, do you have all your lenses? Do you have your tripod adapter? Do you have everything you need to make sure that when you get there, you're not going to realize that you're out of luck? Once again, my lack of planning just kind of came back to bite me here. This is actually not the first time I've run into this situation where I've forgotten the shutter release and couldn't take photographs. However, this is the first time in recent memory where I was hours away from home, so I couldn't just run and grab it. And then last, I took another trip up to the Adirondacks in the fall. Now this was near the end of the season and the leaves were falling off. It was in October. The leaves had mostly already fallen, and I took some time off work to just drive up and try to do it myself. I think I took a half day, left at noon, drove up to the Adirondacks and hiked. Now this time I remembered everything. I brought the 4x5 camera, I had the shutter release cable, I had all my gear ready to go, and I had a couple of waterfalls in mind that I wanted to hit quickly, get those photographs, get back and, bask in the glow of a job well done. When I arrived though, I quickly realized that the rivers, the waterfalls, everything was dry. What would normally be roaring brooks were just kind of a trickle running down, and there was nothing honestly worth photographing without, hiking to the top of a mountain, and I frankly didn't have time to do that before sunset. I ended up just doing a hike by myself and coming back. I didn't take a single photograph. I took some video while I was still not sure, as I was kind of getting ready to go up, but I didn't end up taking any photographs on my film camera, on my digital camera. This one, it's a little tougher, right? When you shoot landscape photographs, you're always sort of at the whims of the landscape. You're at the whims of the sunrise and sunset, the clouds in the sky, the weather. I had checked to see if it had been raining, what the water levels were by, but getting daily updates isn't really something that's easy to do online. You can find, month-to-month updates where they give you a general idea of where the water levels are, and most of them said that they were normal for the time, that there was, water in the rivers and the waterfalls, so I kind of just crossed my fingers and hoped for the best. This one I don't feel as bad about because I knew there was a chance that there wouldn't be anything there, but it was the end of the season. I had to get up there, I had to give it a shot and see before the end of the year, and in the end, all it really cost me was half a day hiking around in the mountains. Can't complain about that, and, about 5 hours of PTO. There's a quote you might have heard about failure from the Irish novelist and playwright Samuel Beckett. It goes like this: ever tried, ever failed, no matter. Try again, fail better. Now, out of context, it is incredibly inspirational. In context, slightly less so. This is a guy who once offered the advice, despair young and never look back. And in context, it's actually a pretty dark and miserable quote, but we're gonna pretend context does not exist. We're gonna take it out of context completely and look at it through beautiful, naive eyes. Ever tried, ever failed, no matter. Try again, fail better. The point that I'm trying and possibly failing to make here is that anybody who was ever great at anything got that way through failing. Anybody who ever created anything beautiful or worthwhile did it through a couple of steps forward and then a step back and then a couple of steps forward. The best we can do is to fail and then use that failure as a tool to go a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further until we get as close as we can to that thing that we're trying to make, right? So yes, everybody fails. The difference between people who make something that matters and people who don't isn't that the people who made it succeeded right off the bat. It's that they took their failures and built upon them until they had created something worthwhile. So my question to you is, when have you failed? Did you use that failure? Did you create something? How did it help you? How did you fail better? As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Stay safe. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, for whatever reason, I'm sure you can find something else you like. Little things should be popping up around my head to give you some suggestions. By all means, go check them out. Just really quickly wanted to send a shout out and a thank you to Cindy Wolfgram. She was the model in this video. She was really cool about letting me do the recording and everything. And even though it didn't work out like I wanted to, just wanted to thank her. Her stuff's down below. Go check her out on Instagram. Give her a follow. Tell her I sent you. Don't do that. That might be weird, right? Don't do that. In addition, for the new year, in the spirit of being a more positive human being, I want to kind of finish my videos off with some beautiful things I saw recently. So the first is I went to the North Carolina Museum of Art and saw the Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera exhibit they had going there. It was incredible. I know a lot of people are familiar with Frida Kahlo sort of as a figure, as kind of like a meme, but her art is incredible. It was really, really beautiful. Diego Rivera's art was really beautiful also, even though I think he was kind of a creeper. But yeah, it was great. I would recommend if you get a chance to see her stuff in person or even just go look it up online. It was really awesome. In addition, I wanted to shout out an artist I discovered recently. I think he's pretty well known, but his name is Simon Stålenhag. He's a painter from Sweden. He does these sort of surreal science fiction rural landscapes. They're really, really gorgeous. I know they take place in Sweden, but they kind of look like the landscapes where I grew up in northern Wisconsin. So it's currently the background on my work computer. If you can get a chance to go check his stuff out, by all means, I really recommend it. That's all I've got for you. Thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you soon. It'll definitely be less of a gap between videos this time. I'm on it. I'm relocated and ready to go. See you later.